Hey everybody, welcome to this wonderful event. My name is Courtney Carnaggio and I am the investor consultant here at the Knoxville Chamber. Thank you all again so much for joining us this afternoon, and we are so excited to have all of you here today for our Ecosystem Explained Business Climate Edition. I want to take a moment and recognize the sponsors who have invested in making this event and our work in business climate possible. Iris Networks, Shad Companies, AT&T, and JP Morgan Chase & Co. To give you a quick idea of what today will look like, Amy Nolan, the Knoxville Chamber's Vice President of Regional Enhancement, will share how her role fits into the organization's 5-year strategic plan called Path to Prosperity and the work her team is currently doing in that area. If you have any questions at all as Amy shares, please enter them into the chat box and we will answer those at the end. If for some reason we do not get to your question, or if you would like to dive a little bit deeper, please stay for our open discussion after the presentation concludes. Before we dive into the presentation, I want, let me tell you a little bit about Amy. So I want to introduce her. I'm Amy Nolan, and she is the Vice President of Regional Enhancement for the Knoxville Chamber, where she actually oversees the organization's initiatives that seek to drive regional economic prosperity by improving the business climate, infrastructure, talent availability, and entrepreneurial ecosystem. So before she joined the Chamber as its VP of Public Policy in 2014, Amy served for 10 years as the publisher and editor of the Greater Knoxville Business Journal. Amy, take it away.
Thank you, Courtney. I appreciate that introduction. And as Courtney mentioned, this is all related to our path to prosperity. In fact, our mission, vision, and plan is what drives everything we do at the Knoxville Chamber, and that really involves driving regional economic prosperity. My team is focused on this wheel for of the areas, again, entrepreneurship, small business, and infrastructure. Those initiatives are led by my teammate, Nancy Neighbors, and Lauren Longmire focuses on our talent and workforce development efforts. And what I'm going to talk about today is business climate. I think you'll see that very quickly how these areas kind of overlap and build upon each other, very much intertwined. So I'm really lucky to have a great team to kind of tackle these hard issues. So business climate, and really this is to some extent very related other organizations. This work would maybe fall under government relations, public policy. We call it business climate because we really, again, it goes back to that, what do we think are the building blocks that makes a great economically prosperous community? And so when we look at those building blocks, we have created what we call the Agenda for Economic Prosperity. And what that does is really state what our principles are in areas, not only taxation, regulation, but again, those building blocks of infrastructure, small business, and talent. We use this agenda, which is updated annually, approved by our board of directors, and it's really what I call our policy guidebook. When people might bring an issue to us, something of that nature, we really kind of use this guidebook to say, okay, is this in our wheelhouse? Is it something that is going to contribute to economic prosperity, and it's in our wheelhouse where we can make a difference? And when those issues come to us, we really study, evaluate, and advocate based on this agenda. And you can find this agenda again on our website. We also know that we can't accomplish, for anybody that's involved in public policy or advocacy work, coalitions are really so important. We could not take on the initiatives that we do or actually keep up with everything that is going on in the world without our coalition. So we do create a regional legislative agenda with our partners in Oak Ridge and Blount County. We work very closely with the big four chambers. We've done that for a number of years. That's chambers in Nashville, Memphis, and Chattanooga. Recently, we have actually expanded that coalition to include what we could consider metro chambers. Rutherford County, Williamson County, very fast growing communities in Middle Tennessee, Jackson, Tennessee, the Tri Cities. We're starting to see as those areas grow and become more urbanized, more metropolitan, we're seeing very similar issues play out in those communities, particularly around talent. And also, a big part of talent is our efforts around diversity, inclusion, and equity. We also we are part of the US Chamber, but I will say just a very, very um, tiny portion of revenue is paid for that membership. We don't agree with the US Chamber on all issues. We do not sign on to all those. We still have really kind of the freedom to decide, not kind of, we do have the freedom to decide our board what of their issues do we sign on to, whether we take a different tact or whether we just say no, this is not an issue that's of concern to us. And the same can be said through the Tennessee Chamber. Tennessee Chamber, we're glad they're there. They really dive into issues around litigation, tort reform, really it get in the weeds as far as taxes. So we're really glad to be part of that organization, and they do that work, and that is work then that we don't have to really focus on because we can take care of some of the bigger issues that are very important to our region. Alliances. So those are kind of the organizations that we're regularly a part of. But also when you look at issues, when we study issues and we become involved in issues, we're also looking to make alliances with organizations that are advocating for similar goals that we have. So, and I'm going to go through some of these and kind of to illustrate some of the issues that the chamber does advocate for. So, SBIR, STTR grants, that's a federal program. It's called the Small Business Innovation Research and Technology Transfer Grants. Obviously, with UT and Oak Ridge National Lab, part of our ecosystem, we have a lot of folks here that are able to take advantage of these federal grants using technology that comes out of the UT, the lab, and actually even Y12. And the state has historically provided like a 25% match to these companies. And what that does is many states in the Southeast does. So we think that's a very competitive edge for that entrepreneur that's going to get this grant to try to commercialize this technology. We want them to do that here in Knoxville. We don't want to lose them to Atlanta or Charlotte or Raleigh Durham. So we think this is a very important tool in our toolbox. So it was not included in our governor's budget this year, but we were able to join with the Innovate 65 Alliance, Life Sciences Tennessee, and other organizations, again, bringing in our big four metros. In the first round, the amended budget that was included $3 million. And then by the time the legislative session actually ended, we were able to get $7 million in that program. So very important for the kind of research and technology and commercialization. Um, Big issues, a couple issues that we've been involved in have been related to a child care task force that was created this year. It was legislation sponsored by Senator Massey. We know that our state has not spent all of the federal dollars allocated to it from the um, temporary aid to needy families. This legislation said we really need to focus on creating more child care options, that we need to make sure that we're using this money to actually help current providers expand, create the pathways for new providers, and to make sure that childcare is quality childcare in order for women to feel comfortable. All parents, but really this tends to affect women more, but certainly true for all parents. Um, to encourage them to remain in the workforce and actually be all they can be in the workforce. The Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, again, we advocated with that with a wide ranging coalition um, to talk about making small accommodations for pregnant women in the workplace. Again, this is focused on our area of we know that talent is a big problem for employees. And many times with pregnant workers, they will not ask for those accommodations because they're fearful that they might lose their job. It becomes an unpleasant experience for them and they quit. So, again, this is a method that we're trying to keep everyone in the workforce and remove those barriers to people leaving the workforce. On another very different topic was Recode, and that was the process that the city undertook last year, 2 years ago, excuse me, 2 years ago, to rewrite the zoning code. We worked very closely with the home builders, local architects, and realtors to get through that process. And finally, Enoch's Task Force was an initiative that we set up this year, really in partnership. I would say that we were the convener. Nancy did a ton of research around this, trying to make sure we started this it would have been May of 2020. I'm seeing Nancy nod, good. And really out of the concerns that when Knox County closed schools, that they were not offering any kind of alternate learning, could not go virtual, felt like there were issues around equity because not all kids had broadband access. And so we were part of a task force that garnered contributions of about 350,000. And to date, we've served about 1,500 families, getting them broadband access and enabling them to continue their education this year as many schools went virtual. And then we also do programming around it because, our best asset in this arena are our investors. So we really look for opportunities to engage our investors with our elected officials and candidates. This October, we will be hosting a city council forum for young professionals um, right before the city general election and between the primary and the general election in October. We host annually a regional legislative breakfast. Again, that is with Blunt County and Oak Ridge. In January, again, we'll be hosting a day on the Hill and a reception with our Metro chambers. And then Capital Connections is a three-part series where we have Knox County, members of our Knox County delegation do a panel discussion here at the chamber. Actually, it was Zoom last year, but we hope this year it will be in person, and really to let them provide us kind of a inside, behind the scenes look at what's happening in Nashville and to answer our investors' questions. We do not support or endorse candidates, but we do support and take positions on public policy. And this is the matrix that not only staff uses, our council uses, and our board uses. Our board is the only policy-making body within the chamber, but we use this kind of criteria as we evaluate legislation or different projects, or really just a number of things that we've been asked to take position on. We wanted to have, and when we do support something, we expect it to have it will be something that has a significant impact on regional economic prosperity. In other words, it's completely in our wheelhouse. There's a clear right answer, and that we have a reasonable chance of impacting the impact outcome, or that there's really limited political consequences. And then we vote on these positions. Our board will decide if all three are met to take a position, if one or more not to oppose, not take a position, and finally to oppose. We went through this process most recently with the downtown sports and entertainment park that is being proposed for the Old City area, the new home of Smokies baseball, Knoxville soccer, wealth of activities, and our board of directors did endorse this. We do feel like this, the chamber feels like this will be an important part of civic furniture, will definitely be a boon as we seek to attract young professionals, and is really will be significant to contribution to economic prosperity here. And finally, I'm going, because we're kind of in the really kind of in the summer slowdown when it comes to public policy, I did want to kind of talk about a few initiatives that we have underway this summer. And it's a way for our investors to engage and really kind of capitalize on what we're doing. So, Explore is directly related to our talent redefined. We know that we are not recruiting and retaining 25 to 55-year-old professionals to be competitive with other regions. So we want to start letting those young professionals know that they are welcome, they are valued here. So we're launching Explore for college students and interns to really get them engaged with the Knoxville region. We want them to stay here, understand that it's a great place to start your career. So we'll be showing them around Knoxville, but also giving them the opportunity to connect with each other and build that community of young professionals. As many of you know, the federal expanded unemployment benefits will be coming to an end on July 4th. We have created an employment resource page on our website. It has area job fairs, it has job postings, and in addition to that, it's got a workforce service provider directory. So if there's individuals that might have a specific barrier to employment, perhaps they've been justice involved, they might have a disability, they might not have completed their high school diploma. This has a directory of providers that can help with individuals with some of those services that will enable them to get back into the workforce. And finally, we'll be hosting, co-sponsoring on June 15th and 16th, a seminar put on by Fourth Purpose Foundation. Will be up in the Junior Achievement in Clinton, and it really talks about the barriers that individuals who are released from prison that they face when trying to reenter society. And in this time that we know that employers are really have a high demand for workers and a very small supply. We really want to encourage them to look at alternative labor pools. And certainly justice involved individuals are one of that. Knoxville has the highest rate of recidivism among any of the urban areas of Tennessee, and employers can really play a big role in reducing that recidivism rate, which means a big savings to taxpayers, of which they are, and also really could be a good solution for their workforce needs. And that's all I have. And Courtney, I will turn it back over to you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Amy, and a huge thank you to our sponsors who help make the Chamber's work of driving regional economic prosperity and events like this possible. Iris Networks, Shad Companies, AT&T, and JP Morgan Chase. We have a question in the chat box from CJ. So he said, I would like to hear more about your D&I work if you wouldn't care to elaborate.
Sure. Be happy to. So we view diversity, inclusion, and equity as really being infused in everything we do. So we don't set it aside as a silo, but we really infuse it in everything we do. So I can say in our workforce strategy, workforce defined, we really have a section there where we're really focused on some of our underserved schools within Knox County schools. Understand that that's an equity issue in order to give every child an opportunity to succeed. We need to be sure that their education offerings are up to the standards that are needed. Again, our intern explore program that we're doing is again a way to try to create community among young people, and our hopes that that will create a more diverse, inclusive community. I would say our work again with Enox was really focused on ensuring that every child had equal access to virtual learning. So we're working right now in under kind of both the talent and infrastructure bucket of what are some transportation alternatives for people who might be they cannot pursue employment because transportation's a barrier. So we're working with employers out at Forks of the River, as well as CAC, CAT, and other stakeholders to create some transit opportunities, some more transportation opportunities for folks who that is a barrier. So again, we see, I think every time that we kind of look at an issue, or a lot of our work is around DEI, but it's actually infused in the work rather than just sitting it aside as a silo for us to think about once in a while. It's something that we think about every day as part of those building blocks.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for that great question, CJ. Does anybody have any more questions?
I got off easy.
You did.
I did. Thank you.
Well, you guys, thank you so much for attending this incredible event. I mean, if you guys think of any questions, feel free to email Amy or myself. I'll put my email in the chat box, or Amy, if you would put your email in the chat box as well. You're more than welcome to email us some questions. you think of any. I will let you guys get back to your day. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and rest of the work week.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Bye.